Hey guys, I'm Jordan and you're watching Fixbook. After watching this video, your car problems stand about as much a chance as this laptop does against my hot lead. Now, make sure you stay tuned so you can see what happened to the laptop at the end of this video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. So today, I'll be showing you how to replace the rear brakes on your Chevrolet Malibu. Alright guys, and the tools you'll need for today is a 3/8 ratchet, a special brake cube or special rear brake tool, a 14mm combination wrench, a 13 and a 14mm 3/8 socket, a flathead screwdriver, some brake grease. Of course, you'll need a jack and jack stands, and you'll also need a set of new brake pads. So with all that said, we'll go ahead and begin today's project. Okay guys, and the first thing you'll want to do is go ahead and get your car lifted up, and also make sure to use a jack stand as well. A good lifting spot will be right here, and you'll be able to find a jack stand placed under there as well. And we've got 19mm lug nuts we need to remove, so I'm going to go ahead and remove our lug nuts, and then we'll take off our wheel. Once we've got our lug nuts removed, we'll go ahead and just pick up our tire and set them off here to the side. Alright guys, so we have two 14mm bolts we gotta take off. The first one, you'll need a combination wrench, which I'm gonna do in a second, but the bottom one, I'll just take my ratchet 14mm socket and we're gonna lefty-loosey in there. I'm just gonna, there we go, I've got them loosened up. And then I'll take a 14mm combination wrench, loosen this guy, and then we'll remove these bolts all the way. And here in just a second, once I get my combination wrench out and loosen up that other bolt and get him all the way off, like I just got the bottom one there off, then I'll show you the next step. Now I've removed both my bolts, so I'm going to go ahead and work on just kind of taking this caliper off, and here we go. And I can see it looks like we have the push and twist style piston here. That's why I wasn't able to do it so much, so we're just going to lay our guy off to the side here, and now we'll just remove our brake pads. And basically, ooh, these guys are on there pretty good. So what I may do is I'll take my flathead screwdriver and just kind of stick in here and just kind of help these guys out just a little bit. And there we go, that's our old brake pad right here, and he's really stuck in there. So we'll just go ahead and get him out, and we can see our pad is really thin, and the other side wasn't as thin. That's some uneven brake pad wear, which is never a good thing. Oftentimes the cause of that is going to be your caliper slide pin, but in this particular case, I think it's going to be because the brake pad hardware is actually not working too well. The pads were stuck in there, so that's not a good sign. So we'll just kind of work on that a little bit. What you can do is you can replace the brake hardware. If you buy a more expensive set of pads, it'll come with new brake pad hardware. This little metal thing sitting right in here. I'm trying to take them out for you here and show you what it looks like, what I'm talking about. It's like this piece right here. You may want to replace it, because that could cause trouble. It could cause the pads to stick and uneven pad wear and that sort of thing. So next, I'm going to show you guys how to go about changing your rotors if you have to do so. And basically what we'll do here is we have a, let me make sure, I believe it's a 13mm bolt sitting on the back here holding your caliper bracket in. So I'm going to get a 13mm socket. We're going to loosen up these bolts and we'll take off our caliper bracket. Alright, we have now reached the most important segment of this video. Please do not skip over this part of the video. It's important for you to hear what I've got to say about rotors, and it's important to assure that after you've done your brake repair, your car will be safe to drive. So we've got a few different options here when it comes to dealing with your rotors. You can either replace your rotor, have your rotor resurfaced, or you can keep and use your current rotor as is. Now, first I'm going to go over replacing the rotor. It is an absolute must to replace the rotor if its measurement is below the minimum thickness threshold to ensure your car is safe to drive. What I'm going to describe here in just a second, whether you want or don't want to replace the rotor, that's up to you. Affordability and comfort is at hand. But if it is below the minimum thickness threshold, there's no other way about it. You must replace the rotor. Okay, so now that we understand that, and here in just a second I'll show you how to measure it and be able to tell whether it's below the threshold or not. But now we're going to talk about turning your rotors. Now, there's a couple reasons you could turn your rotor, and that's to keep your present rotor, and you can pay about $10 to Napa or O'Reilly, where they have a brake lathe, and they will turn your rotor for you. It's a cheaper option than buying a whole new rotor. And the reason you'd want to do that is if you've wore your brake pads down metal to metal, and the metal pad is wedged in grooves there, and it's all torn up, then you don't want to put new pads on that torn up surface with your old rotor. So you'd want to have your rotor resurfaced, and that's to ensure longevity for your new brake pads. The other reason to have your rotors resurfaced at a parts store is if you're having vibration problems with your rotors. That is, if you're driving down the highway and you apply the brake pedal and you feel your brake pedal vibrating. If you don't like that, that would be a good reason to have your rotors turned. But if you're really particular, just keep in mind that when the rotors are thinner, they're more likely to develop that warpage problem, because what happens is you'll be driving down the road, you'll run through a big puddle of water, and the water will splash on the hot rotor and it'll warp the rotor. The thicker the rotor is, or the newer the rotor is, it's going to be less likely to develop this problem. So resurfacing the rotor, if you have that problem, will fix the problem, but it'll come back faster. So if you have the extra money and you really don't want that problem, you can go ahead and just throw money at it and just get a new rotor every time. But if you want to see the problem go away and risk it coming back or not, it may or may not come back, you can go ahead and turn it and get out of the situation cheaper and be more comfortable. Now the last option is to just keep your rotor and put new brake pads on. That is a very acceptable option, and that's what I do about 80% of the time. Again, as long as the rotor is above the minimum threshold, because if it's not going to be safe to drive. So it's okay to put new pads on your old rotor if it's smooth like this you can see right here. As long as it's a semi-smooth surface, you can go ahead and put the new brake pads on. It's really fine. So those are the three options that you have: replacing, resurfacing, or just keeping your old one. And again, most of the time, most people are just fine keeping their old rotor and putting new pads on top of their old rotor. One more thing I almost forgot to is rotors that cause vibration, they're safe to drive. It's just an uncomfortable thing. The unsafe thing is the below the minimum thickness, but rotors that cause vibration are safe to drive. And also, this minimum thickness number, if I don't tell you exactly what the number is here in just a second, you can find it at your parts store. They'll give you a discard thickness number on your rotor, so keep that in mind too. Alright, and here we are, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get my ratchet on there, and I'm just going to lefty loosen it. There we go, I got the top one loose. Now I'll just set my caliper out of the way and I'll get that bottom one. Alright guys, and there we go. I've got my bottom caliper bolt out, and once you get that top one out, we'll be able to remove this caliper bracket. Okay guys, now I've got that top bolt off, so I'm just going to wiggle him out here. We got him off, so now we'll just pull our caliper bracket right off. And then, if you need to replace your rotor, you're just going to slide your rotor right off, just like that. So you got your new or resurfaced rotor, you just slide it back on here. And then we'll take our caliper bracket, we'll slide him back on, and start our two 13mm fasteners. Okay guys, so basically once you've got your 13mm bolts there snugged in and you get them all tightened down, the next thing you're going to want to do is you'll take a rear brake piston compressor tool. It's a cube, it's called a brake cube or your rear brake tool, and you're going to get it onto your piece here. You're going to find the right combination and get it onto your ratchet, and basically what we're going to be doing is pushing and turning right at the same time. Alright guys, so now I'm picking up on my caliper. I'm going to take my cube off and I'm going to find the right combination here. And what I mean is we have different combinations of turning things. So you're just gonna kind of stick them on your piston right there. And I'm gonna say, no, it's not that one. It's not that one. This one. And there we go. I think I found one that'll work. It'll be that one right there. So this combination right here, this side will work. So what I'll do is I'll put my ratchet on the other end, and then I'll be turning right as I push in. I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy on here, make sure he's turning right, and then I'm just gonna come up here and I'm gonna push. And eventually we'll have the piston compressed all the way back, so when we get our new brake pads on, we'll be able to stick this caliper back on and put it all back together. Okay guys, and a little note I wanted to add there. I was saying you had to kind of push and twist at the same time. Really, it works pretty much like a fastener. You just take that brake cube, you know, here, I've got them right here, and you just get this work down in the groove and you just spin it righty-tighty there, and basically it just works like a socket. So you don't, I mean, I think you have to just maybe apply a little bit of pressure, but you don't have to like push to the point where you're struggling. Just kind of apply a little pressure and then push down and spin right, and you'll send that piston right back down to where it came from. Okay guys, so now once you've got your piston all the way compressed back, the next thing we're gonna do, well, first you're gonna want to make sure your caliper slide pins slide real well, and if they don't, you can go ahead and look up a video, search Fixbook caliper slide pin or Fixbook slide pin, and you should find a video showing you how to do that sort of thing. But what my concern is for these brakes is going to be these places right here where the pads were sitting. So you're going to take you some disc brake lubrication or grease, and we're just going to apply some right there, and on the other sides as well, and then we'll go ahead and install our new brake pads. So I'm just going to take this guy right here, and we're going to set them right here, and we'll get this guy in place, and then we'll get our caliper set on, and I'll show you everything getting wrapped up. Okay guys, so now you got your new brake pad sitting back in there. We'll go ahead and take our old caliper and we'll make sure it slides back on, and it does because we compressed it back nice and well. So we'll take our 14mm bolts. It's odd that the bolts on the outside are bigger than the ones holding in the caliper bracket, but we'll go ahead and get him started, and then we'll run these bolts down, and we'll just about have it wrapped up here. Alright guys, and once you've got your caliper bolts tightened up, you're pretty much almost home. You're just about done. The last thing we gotta do here is get this wheel back on. Go ahead and start all your lugs, and you're about done. The last thing you want to make sure to do once you've got both your sides done is you're going to want to make sure to get in the car and depress the brake pedal all the way to the floor, because you're going to have the pressure isn't going to be built up that you need to apply your brakes. So just make sure to pump your brake pedal in the car, and it should go about all the way to the floor, and just pump it up until it gets nice and firm, and then we'll go ahead and tighten up these lug nuts, and that pretty much concludes today's project. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to subscribe so you can catch all my new videos, which publish Mondays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Mountain time, 11 a.m. Central time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and I will see you then.